Thank you for start recording. So guys, welcome to the Fund 6 Improvement Circle. Here today we are going to discuss what could be better in Fund 6 based on our previous experience in Funds 5, 4, 3, and the other ones. As always, we know that we learn by improving, by iterating in what we do. And this improvement process is not something easy, and we are not going to solve everything now. Or here we just want to like take some steps in the right direction. So it would be good if we could like list some pain points that we know that were there in the previous funds, especially in Fund 5. And also if we could like prioritize and identify some people that are working on some of these problems, and also to like to try to prioritize them and think what would be better to be fixed first. So I tried to put some links here about what's been going on already. There are some documents that have been created by the community that were shared in Discord and Telegram in the right side. And you can access them during this session to see what has been discussed already. And in the left side, I've added some places for us to place the pain points and some solution ideas. Also, I don't think that we should go too deep in a specific solution here because we have limited time, but we can always like write the ideas down here and discuss them. And that's it basically. So I have pre-filled here these windows with some of the pain points that I've seen being discussed in Telegram the last few days, and also that have been included in the files. So please feel free to include any others that you think about, and also some solution ideas.
I don't know, maybe let's start from left up and work our ways to the right and take issue one by one, maybe brainstorm together if the current pain points don't address the problem, and then think of maybe some solution. Okay.
Yeah, let's do that.
So in general process, I wrote down veteran community advisors are not allowed to assess. So to some people, maybe it's not a problem, but for me, because in previous funds, I was able to assess and look through proposals and give my feedback. And as a veteran, I was able to also assess the assessments and also learn by doing that, what is important, what do I look for. And it was quite hard to do that because, but it's very useful activity. But now when I proposed, I had no access to this anymore. And so I kind of felt left out, even though I do want to also help others out. I'm not here to just assess other proposals to get my own up. I just want to give feedback to everybody. So yeah, I did rely on commenting and just joining there. But when we think about assessing, then I think I could add value as an assessor to just make this metric, what people see on a voting app, maybe a bit better. So I don't know what you think about that.
I have one question. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So just to be clear, because of the way that you just said it, it is not that you cannot assess because you are a veteran advisor, but you cannot assess because you are a current proponent. So just for the sake of clarity, I think you could change the writing on the pain point and write proponents are not allowed to advise or to assess, I'm sorry, because it has nothing to do with you being a veteran community advisor. And obviously it's not about you, right? It's about all other veteran community advisors. So the question is, all other veteran community advisors, they are able to do assessments or aren't they?
Well, if you put it in this way, that proposers are not allowed to assess other proposals, then in some ways it comes back to the conclusions, yeah, because you did the proposals, you have to choose between, do you want to give feedback or you want to take feedback?
Yeah, I think that's because the risk that people are considering is obviously corrupt actors who are proponents and who would write negative assessments to their competitors, right? And so that way, a corrupt actor would damage the system and affect good proposals simply because they want to trick everyone, right? They want
This
to.
isn't a theoretical threat. We've actually seen this. Or
Yeah,
I've
I agree. I think
that's.
That's why I kind of use the word as a veteran community advisor. So it kind of has a bit more merit to what he has contributed, and then perhaps should have the ability also to assess. Because when you can clearly see that kind of play that he might trying to boost his proposals over others, then the veteran community advisors can see that thing. So I think that corruption is in some sense like mitigated to do that.
I think Stevie wants to say something.
Yeah, I was pretty involved in the CA process in Fund 2 and Fund 3, and then when Mercy asked me to join the water team, Fund 4 was going on, and I, like I've spent that time since then being withdrawn from the CA process, and when I did that for myself, it was because I know that I was biased to think in certain ways, not just when it came to WADA, but also when it came to the whole process. And it's really been my process for the last couple of months has been trying to decide whether what I tell myself internally is a bias is in fact actually valid criticism, valid observation of the process and the other proposals, right? Because I mean, we all kind of, if you read the proposals, you see good proposals and you see poorly written proposals. You see good ideas and bad ideas. And just because you're involved with a specific proposal doesn't invalidate the experience and the knowledge and the awareness you've accrued over the time in the community. And so I really echo Tivo's feelings on this. But I don't know how we as a community kind of agree on restrictions as for CAs who have a proposal in a given category. But I think that we should do that.
Picking up from some of the ideas that some of us have been writing in the Discord, I think that there are two things that may be considered regarding this issue. I would like you to imagine that we are not trying. So what we are doing, improving Fund 6, is actually taking small steps to work on Voltaire. That's the way I understand this whole process. So I want you to imagine that situation, because then we should be thinking about not only 22 people coming together or 25 people coming together for Catalyst, but for the Catalyst Swarm, but a process that involves hundreds of people, probably thousands or tens of thousands of people. So the two ideas that I think can be considered are, one, so the system that tracks the proposals and the assessments should be able to track that you are not assessing your own proposal, and maybe there could be some kind of restriction that you cannot assess proposals that are competing with you. The second thing is that it should be possible to track who did the assessment of which proposal, even if we want to protect identities and so on. So if we have a couple of like safety pins in the system, then you can have a system where there are hundreds of thousands of people and anyone can assess, anyone can propose, because this is the way it would work. It would have to work in the future. You cannot constrain people by some particular category, I think, in the long run. So, but there could be some mechanisms to avoid that, that the corrupt actor has actually the possibility to rig the system. They simply cannot do it. So that's how I think some ideas could be implemented to, you see, we are not solving the problem because we are not finding a mechanism for proponents to actually be able to assess proposals, but we are dissolving the problem by avoiding that proponents can assess the proposals where their assessment would be problematic. Oh, that's it. That's the idea.
You know, if I can, if I can echo what you just said. I'm sorry, I don't know your name. I just see your handle. But I think the point is that this is a governance system that we're building to do things like governing. I mean, making votes on technical not proposals, but technical changes to the protocol and things like that. And we're focused on this very small aspect of it, is giving grants to people for $20,000, $50,000. For me, you've heard, those who know me have heard me say that I think the whole community advisor assessment system is irrelevant. And though it started out as some kind of a simple rating system, fine. We've seen that there's problem and problem and problem and problem. And we're trying to do all of these machinations to stop this and do that and whatever. I think we have to stop and say, this is not the foundation for a governance system. And so this community advisor and this public rating system, to me, it's completely unworkable for even the short term, but certainly the long term. So why are we not considering to try something completely different? As I just made a recommendation in that Google Docs, is that for Fund 6, let's not publish the assessments. Do them if you want to do them. Don't publish them. See what the voters say. This is an issue about voting. It's not there's so much focus on community advisors and veteran community advisors. It's like this aristocracy here. Those people don't count. The voters count and the proposals count. So to me, I think it's time for, we see from all of these machinations, let's force people to vote on this, assign them to vote on that, then this, all of these things, step back. This cannot be the solution for long-term governance system. Thank you.
I would actually kind of argue against that. Like I don't know, unless I know another model what could make like a cluster of people who do not want a single solution, but want to understand the scope of solutions we have to get done something bigger. Like, because in this funding, this innovation fund, we don't just have like specific goals. We have a collection of specific goals which goes sometimes even opposite directions. And if you are a community advisor and you do it for a year and you read through proposals after proposals after proposals, you kind of create like some kind of knowledge or mind map of things, what could be done, who is doing, how they're doing, and all kinds of like tangible like assets where you can point at, and which helps you people just organize way better. But if we do it in a way that everybody just says everything and there is no alignment in the structure how to collect that information, then I think we're losing the efficiency.
Tivo, what gives 20 or 30 or 50 community advisors the special position to influence the voters? The voters are all human beings with intelligence. Why must they be guided like sheep to vote for a 4+ rating? Why is it necessary to tell the voters, ooh, look over here? This one is interesting because maybe 3 people said it was interesting, maybe 20 people said it was interesting. Why is that necessary? Voters are all as intelligent as you or I. Why do they need to be heard?
But then I think perhaps you want to bring out a solution that the voter has option to not see ratings at all and just randomly pick up whatever.
Of course, I think the ratings are a negative influence. Again, 3 people give a rating of 5 or 1, doesn't matter. What does that say that that's a valid rating, a valid guide? But if you only see that, ooh, this got 5 rating by 3 people or 3 bad actors or 10 bad actors, how does the voter know that? So I think there's so many flaws in the system that we should consider abandoning the system or keep it quiet or something. But again, it's like taking a tire tube and putting patch on it. It has another hole. We want to put another patch on it. It has another hole, another patch. It's not working.
But that's a governance. Like we have to adapt to all kinds of situations, like, and
community advisors are a government now, and VCAs. Be careful, Tivo.
Yeah, but everybody can be it. Like right now, yeah, if you're a proposer, you cannot be.
Without having this be an argument, let's find what we can agree on. And I think there are some dynamics in there that do point people in ways that can be biased. Do we have enough input from CAs to be statistically significant? Are we creating bias in our voting that I think we have to recognize that CAs do create bias in the voting, and that by showing those votes or by showing those opinions ahead of time, we're potentially screwing up the wisdom of the crowd. That's my perspective.
So I would like to note that there is an interesting contradiction between the 2 positions. I think so. I feel this is the case. On the one hand, Leonard says that he believes that the electors are sufficiently intelligent, they are adults to decide by themselves. I don't agree that we necessarily are, but I agree that we should have the responsibility to do it. But on the other hand, Randall says that the assessments influence the voting. So then the electors are not as mature and adults as we think they are because they allow themselves to be biased by that. I would like to propose an idea to you, and it's the following. I think we would like to work on Cardano governance in the long run. That should be the goal. But the step that we have to take today is to contribute to improve Fund 6, right? But I think Leonard, so I have very little experience here, but I think Leonard's proposal, and I think he speaks from his experience, and I have seen a lot of this, it's very serious. Like, it doesn't seem to work. So we could think about improving Fund 6 by rethinking the process. Obviously, not going so far as dismantling everything and rebuilding everything, but at least here, we should have the ability to think freely on what would be better and trying to implement that or trying to create contributions to transform what we have today in what we think would be better, right? And so we don't have to do only one or the other. We don't have to commit only to do an incremental improvement on fund 5, and we don't have to today or in the few next sessions come up with the definitive solutions. We can propose to improve fund 6 substantially. That's the idea.
Steve?
Yeah, I believe everybody should be treated equally, but I do not believe that the Catalyst community can make assumptions about the thousands of unknown people that are registered to get involved on Idea Scale right now. And what I see as the problem with the community advisor process is that it comes too late in the game of a funding round. I feel like the volume of proposals that come from people who are clearly new to, if not blockchain, they're new to Cardano, and they have what they feel like are good ideas, and I may even agree with their ideas, but they don't have a team, or they don't have the technical expertise, or they don't even understand, a basic business proposal, construction. And so what I feel like is that the assessments should actually happen the week after the proposals are posted on Idea Scale, so that they've got immediate feedback on what they need to do to improve their proposal, with this advice given by the assessors. And then, yeah, I have no problem with their, scoring how well they've done that at the end of the funding round. So that for people who don't get involved in Idea Scale until registration has happened, and then they start to analyze the proposals to see which ones they want to vote for, they've got kind of a history of their interaction in the comments with the community, as well as how well they responded to the critiques given by the assessors. And in that sense, then the dynamic with the CAs changes to being more of advice, and then an assessment on how well they responded to the advice from the assessors, as well as the community in the comments section. And I think that this would alleviate a lot of this dynamic of pointing fingers at CAs as being some elite group, because they're not an elite group. They, other than the fact that they've put in a lot of work that nobody else has done. Nobody magically becomes a CA. They work their ass off to do it.
Yeah. Let's not forget to appreciate the effort of people, even if we find that the system isn't really working well toward the intended purpose. Like, that's a lot of effort that we should appreciate.
Yeah, I think we should also remember why the CA role was created in the first place. And as far as I remember, it was created because the voters probably don't have time to go through 300 proposals and decide which one is better. So they will have some kind of guidance. So RCA is the best way to do this. I'm not sure. I think there are some problems that we have already identified, like the bias problem. We do need to be sure about the expertise of the CAs, and there are other problems as well. But the current system tries to avoid these problems with the quality assurance phase, which is not perfect as well. But I remember that Dor mentioned this sometime, that instead of starting from the scratch every time again, we could try different things in parallel and see which one works better. And I think we could try to create another, or at least think about another way to make the life of voters a little bit easier, so they don't have to read through 300 potentially big and complex proposals to decide how to vote. So
I think that, yes, Victor, and I think that there's some easy things to do. For example, give a public confidence rating in the sense that this, if you want to publish ratings, this rating is based on 3 reviews, or this rating is based on 20 reviews. That gives an instant indication of the value. That's a simple thing to do instead of all of these other things. And now a voter can say, ooh, 3 reviews for a 2 rating, let me look at it.
Yeah, so Daniel says in the chat that that's already going to happen, but I would say, I would push back against the fear around people skewing voters' intentions or voters' wanted desires, but they see some 5 score, so they want to go with it. With that said, because if we think about it, and we are allowing the community advisors to grow, and there's more every time, we're getting more diverse views every time. I think it's a great idea, Leonard, posting how many reviews each one got so people could determine. I think the bigger it gets and the more ideas there are and the more CAs that are participating and reviewing these proposals, the more even those scores are going to get, because you're going to have people that have different skill levels assessing, different ability to understand, and different expectations of the proposal, writing and structure. And so I think over time, those scores are pivotal to help voters. It's not saying you must vote for this one because it got a 5, but it's saying of the X people who reviewed it, this is the score that it's been allotted. I think that is what voters need. I don't think, and it's not an elitist thing or wanting to decide for them. Like they said, voters don't have time. It's even hard as a CA to put in time to get, 10% of them all. And so to think that there's some bias or elitism that's framing all this I think it's a misplaced lens, but that's just my analysis.
I mean,
Not misplaced. Sorry, that's not the right word, but just it shouldn't be, there's clear intentions of what this role is. And as it grows, those things will be less weighted against a smaller group of people. That's what I meant to.
There's another, maybe not quite so easy, but establish a parallel system. I've used the example of movie reviews, where a few people, now let's say people who are really committed, get together, form a little hui, a little group, and they sit down and they make an assessment based on logic, and give their rationale. Not that this is bad or good, but based on their rationale about how this will help the system. And let those reviews, like a movie review, be another source and public, meaning 3 of these people here get together and say, okay, we like tech projects, and we have the knowledge, and we're going to help the community to understand tech projects, and sit down, have a little swarm session or a recorded swarm session or chat session, and then have a link to that so people can see, okay, here's the tech review guys or something like that. And even to the point, if you recall, when websites or YouTube channels first came out, a lot of people would solicit donations. If you like my work, donate. Ask the voters, if you like our reviews, support us, give us some ADA.
I just quickly jump into that. On last Wednesday, in the coffee break after the town hall, Dor mentioned something like this. It's called the assessment marketplace. So, which could be, well, it's not for Fund 6, but for the future, that, as you said, Len, that different groups are able to post kind of their assessments, and you as a voter can decide which group you want to listen to. Maybe that's sort of a path that goes in the direction you mentioned.
Yeah, imagine a recorded swarm session like this that was designed for discussing 5 proposals, 5 technical proposals, and it included 3 or 4 guys or girls or whatever. And that was a recorded swarm session and available for anybody to look at.
Again, the voter investment side, I think is something that I got a lot of people into Cardano who are not even willing to come to Catalyst because it's too overloaded. But they're, you know, they think, okay, proposals, we can support this. But if we complicate it too much and we make it too burdensome and there's too many things that people have to keep track of, watching hours of every proposal, it's just unfathomable for people to keep up, especially as we grow.
But they could put a little attention into a few proposals and contribute the power of the crowd in those places without being expected to evaluate the universe of proposals.
Can I jump in real quick? I have for a long time been begging the community to come up with like elevator pitches where some podcaster, some YouTube person would say, hey, come on here, give us a 3-minute pitch about your proposal, and then concatenate all of those into here's an hour of them, here's another hour of them. And that way, have a way for these proposers to expose their stuff to the voters directly, which would then give the proposer the exposure to the voters where they would say, oh man, I really dig what that cat was saying. I'm going to go research it a little bit and get the voter involved really early on. As opposed to saying, well, the only way that the voters can be helped is if we've got this cadre of individuals who guide them. And to your point, Len, I get it. You know, it's a small group of folks right now, which is growing, and they're doing the best that they fucking can. And maybe just adding another way for the voter to get some insight into what's going on is what's really needed.
I like what you said, and the issue I have with elevator pitches is they tend to just mirror what we already typed into our proposals, and that's kind of why I've been interested in doing this proposer circle in the Swarm, in order to create a conversational space where we can do group-based sense making about those proposals and have conversations about them and reveal more of a rich perspective on those proposals.
I get that.
I don't know if it's working yet.
Yeah, I get the whole idea. There's many different ways to expose information to people. Is the more that we can expose, the better it is. Yeah. And truth of the matter is, we've got a lot of people who are invested in Cardano who really don't even pay attention to what's going on. You know, they're so busy with their other altcoins that or you know, whatever life, but they do watch YouTube. You know, and if there was a place they could go and just consume this stuff in rapid style, hey, and I dig that one, I'll go research that a little bit more. I'm just saying it's another layer of exposure. That's all.
I mean, that kind of begs the question. I mean, because you're right. I mean, there's a million wallets, right? And 30,000 in theory are registered. You know, at least that's how many registered on idea scale. You know, how many of those actually have aided a vote? We don't even know that at this point. That's my point in the earlier conversation. You know, we have to see what happens in Fund 4. It's the first time we've had this many people vote or registered. You know, so that's a long process. And, you know, like to hurt a million anonymous individuals is worse than hurting cats. You know, like all that we can do is all that we can do. You know, I think there's several YouTube channels that are doing what Steve's suggesting, and, you know, you have to want to know, right? You know, like you have to want to know.
But I wonder if we could take that, like, that's a great idea. Could we take it one step further and say that for the proposer, you on your proposal, you have whether it's animated or it's you speaking or it's some other way that you want to present your elevator pitch, it's at the top of every proposal. So then when people are going, they can look at the proposal. Oh, I'm interested in this proposal. Elevator pitch. Do I want to read more? Elevator pitch. I wasn't impressed. Next proposal. And then we don't become in charge of doing it or putting it out. The proposals as part of your, you know, development of getting it out is, okay, tell people, voters, short and sweet, why you should be voted for. And then that kind of builds on a lot of these ideas and could streamline it where it's not extra work for CAs or anyone else.
So I understood that the people who wrote the proposals are going to be doing kind of that before the voting for Fund 5, right? They are supposed to now jump into all of the social media and tell everyone about their proposal. Now, I understand that what we have been discussing here for a while is to do that before, so that this exists has an elevator pitch before the proposal are posted, and so people can see them. That is still, I think, like over 250 elevator pitches. So I want to mention something that I think Leonard put in the chat, and that we have been working in the Discord, and it's already in the Miro here. And it's the idea of screening the proposals. So I want to put this in a slightly different way, because I'm feeling that part of the issue with the community advisors and the whole process is that the process of assessment is really complicated. It seems to give too much power to a small group, and then maybe affects the voting, right? So this whole process is, in a sense, part of the problem. But the reason why, one of the reasons why it's so problematic is because there are so many proposals, and so many of them are not really of good quality. And so people have to go through an assessment, and actually a few people do that. So we have 6 assessments for a proposal that is not really a proposal. So what we have been discussing in the Discord is, and I want to propose this in a positive manner, but I think the simplest, clearest way is to propose it in a negative manner, which is, let's not call them proposals in the first stage. We call them ideas. So people come with ideas and they fill a form, the form in idea scale, and they publish them. And some members of the community go in and read them. We call those guys community advisors. Anyone can do that, right? The point is that if what the person proposed, if the idea that exists there is not really in the proposal stage, it should be possible for the people who read it to move it out of the voting process. Send it to the place where it has to iterate and become actually a proposal. The point is very simple, that things that are not really at the proposal stage shouldn't go through the formal assessment stage, and less than that should never be submitted to the voters. So that way the voters don't have to face 300 proposals and maybe even 300 elevator pitches and then advertisements and so on and so on.
How does that resolve the issue of a small group of people making the determination for moving a proposal out or saying it's not adequate enough? You still are faced with the exact same problem, which you're arguing that you want to remove.
No,
so
but
I don't see how it solves that.
In the issue of the community advisor, I am on your side on the sense that anyone can be a community advisor. It's not a special role, right? So these people would be filtering ideas, not proposals. Once a thing is a proposal, then the only people who get to filter it are the voters, right? So the point here, this is what I said, that there is a difference between proposing it in a positive manner and in a negative manner. So in a negative manner, it sounds like we are censoring stuff, right? But the point is that we are telling ideas that are not really in the form of proposals, which are clogging the system. Hey, get your proposal ready. When your proposal is actually a proposal, then we put it through the system. You see the slight difference?
Jonathan.
You're not removing the problem. I see the difference of what you're talking about, but it repeats the problem that you're trying to erase. And so I don't.
It could. Yeah.
Jonathan, let's face facts. These are people asking for money. Yes or no? Yes or no?
No.
Yes.
Yes.
No, they're asking to be funded. Yes, for an idea.
They're asking for money. They're asking for money. If you go through any angel investor process, Unfortunately, I can't dig the files out. I'm in the process of making some community improvement proposals, but I got COVID and I can't, haven't been able to. I can't dig them out right now. If you go to any list of venture capital or angel or accelerator, they all require you to fill out a questionnaire to begin with. And it talks about, do you have a team? Have you done any work before? Do you have any experience? Do you have you done anything? How long you've been doing this? What's your objectives? Very simple. It's not pejorative. It's just qualifying. And before their team will spend their hours evaluating thousands, and they get thousands and thousands of ideas, they all go ask an applicant to go through that simple process, invest 3 hours, 5 hours a day to fill out an application. What's wrong with that?
There's not, I think that would be an excellent addition. It does not solve the problem of 300 proposals being put on face value to voters who don't have time to read every proposal and are looking for help.
No, because those people that didn't fill it out, who didn't have the effort to fill it out, or who gave clearly unsatisfactory answers. What do I mean unsatisfactory answer? I'm a 19-year-old college kid and I've got an idea that I want to change the accounting industry, and here's my plan, and I'm going to school part-time and I took my first course in accounting, so here's my proposal. That doesn't belong. That doesn't belong in the system.
No, but even the ones that make it through the process that you're discussing, there could still be 200, 300, 400 proposals on the other side that meet all the basic requirements. Yes. You have to think right now we're in the baby stages when we have, 15 million being developed every 6 to 12 weeks, and then we have 400 proposals. The problem, I don't disagree with what you're saying, but it doesn't solve the problem of making it more synthesized for voters to make.
Jonathan, if we change 1,200 to 400, that's a dramatic improvement in the funnel. Let's give that credit.
But that's an addition, right? We're talking in addition to the rest of the process. I agree. What you're saying is a wonderful screening to put people through. Should go through.
Let's agree then.
100%.
I think
agree.
That's the bottom line where we can agree, I think.
Yeah. One thing I would add, I would even actually let in that person who just says, hey, I'm going to school, I'm going to be an accountant, I want to change the accounting world. I have no idea how to do it, but that's my idea that get me funded. I would even actually pass that thing, but what would be addition is that all these screenings and all these CA assessments, all these videos, pitch decks, all of these things are like attributes on top of the proposal. So when the voter has time and he wants to go find the worst possible thing he could fund, he can switch up the filters and say, I don't want him to have a pitch deck. I don't want him to have any kind of feasibility, and able to see these other solutions or solutions what are deemed as, hey, it could be a scam, but it's too good to be true. But hey, they maybe want still to take a risk against the collective knowledge or the collective feedback we are trying to show. So we don't say that you cannot be in this system. Everybody can join, but if you play the game as we want you to play, which is add value, be open, and try to align or just be the best you can be, then you will be good here. And yeah, then
we just open another issue with that. Yeah, it's not so easy. It's not so easy. Yeah, sorry.
I think that there's an element of gatekeeping that it's effective for I guess filtering out ideas that are gonna have some serious utility versus ideas that are just people coming up with stuff. And I think that it needs to be a difficult enough process that the ideas that are worth entertaining are the ones that make it through, but also not so difficult that, back to what I don't remember exactly who it was. I was kind of looking at something else, but I heard somebody say something about, if you have like a 19-year-old who's, just he's just about to start his, and is on track for CPA, and he wants to reinvent the accounting system. It's very possible that he actually does have a worthy, he definitely has a valuable point of view on it. And by setting up a system that will somehow deny him simply based on his experience, I think that goes against a lot of what I've come to realize of what is Project Catalyst, which is that it's giving everybody the same equal access and a playing field where ideas can compete for the utility. So I think that talking about setting up that system in order to be able to really process what's something that's going to be advanced to another level, or so to speak. It's very possible that in making things a little bit more difficult for people, we're going to end up keeping a lot of people out of the conversation that would actually have have really valuable input. Just had that to say.
Hey there, I raised my hand. I don't know how these things work, so I just am going with the old school thing of, hey, can it be my turn? And I'm vaguely aware of this ongoing argument for the past couple months as I sort of check in and check out of the community and hear what's going on. And I believe, is it Leonard, is his name, has been recommended to me to like talk to him and stuff like that. And I probably should. But my one question is, because part of me agrees, but my question, sort of rhetorical question, is who decides? Who decides on what's the important factor, right? So in listening from when I hopped over from the other room, it sounds like the benefit that's being pitched is efficiency, which is great, because I personally think efficiency is a good benefit. There are some instances where efficiency is fucking stupid, right? And dehumanizing and reduces people to a fucking commodity. We don't need efficiency in Africa. For fuck's sakes, they need electricity and sewers. You know what I mean? And people rioting in Portland don't care about being treated, whether or not they're being treated efficiently, right? So that's what I mean by about who decides. If you ask me, I vote for efficiency. If you ask, beside me on the computer is Victor Corsino. He lives in Brazil. He probably decides something else based on Brazil stuff. You know what I mean? And beside him is Tivo Sachs. You know what I mean? And then Jonathan Canada. Me and Jonathan are both from Canada, so we're both going to decide Canada things, right? But that's why that's my main problem with this argument is we're campaigning for what we think is important. But that's just me saying, I know what's fucking important. You know what I mean? Everyone listen to me. I know what's important. It's the same as when Harry Truman said, we're going to help the developing countries. And the other countries are like, we didn't know we were developing until he told us. You know what I mean? And puts a label on them or something to that effect. So I get it. If there's inefficiencies in the process, that sucks. And I hate efficiency myself. I have to pay for my own house here. So, efficiency is important to me. I want the most per hour that I can fucking get. But I'm not sure that it's the most important thing at this point of the process right now. It does address a problem. Is that the best, talking about efficiency, is that the best use of our resources? You know what I mean? It feels like we're arguing over, it's not a minute thing. I get it. It's not a minute. I've read proposals that are stupid, or people that appear to have paid for people or to like hit the thing on idea scale that gives them a thumbs up or whatever, so that they have like 500 things and like every other one has like 100. And there is like, there is problems there and weird gaps, but it's tough to, you know, it's so arrogant for me to say, well, I know what's the most important thing. This is a global thing. Okay, I don't know how to put my hand down, but I'm going to just hit mute.
Hello, guys. Can I just add short for this? I think this discussion happened before with somebody when I was here, and everybody thinks that the problem is in the system how it's now. I see like many people mentioning this, and I'm too. But to the one point that is my personal point, I want to just say what we were talking before, and that everybody, most of the people, agreed on. It would be much easier for the system as it is now if every proposal would come from the catalyst community, because now what we see is most of the proposals come from people that are interested to put their idea on Cardano, or maybe even from the community, but it's always like one person has an idea and he put it through on its own without collaborating with the community. And we thought about like, why not like try to put these ideas in the system of in this incubator that we have here of the community, and collect a team of people in different professions that can use their professions for this proposal, for this idea. But that's the question now. The person that comes with the idea, does he want to share? And then but I think it would be better if we accept only proposals like that, to have people collaborate together and create this proposal out of these ideas from single persons, and create teams inside of our community. And the other thing is, what I want to mention here now, just before I go, is that I'm thinking about now completely changing the catalyst idea system, if it's possible, if they allow it to change. And that's why I'm looking into a small group of people who are interested into these kind of things, and maybe from the next Swarm session to create a circle and talk about these things.
Yeah, it'd be good to hear other ideas. You know, I think if people have ideas, they should be throwing them out so we can discuss them and hear them. Sorry, Manuel, I know you've been trying to get into.
Manuel or me?
No, I'm okay. But
like what I heard Manuel, for example, he found some kind of his own thinking about these problems that we have, and he's like proposing this kind of let's talk about ideas before we talk about proposals. And then was also Dallas made a big point about whole of this thing. And then there was also, I'm not sure who said it, I think Joey, no. Somebody else mentioned something about the whole system, how it's voted, and VCAs and CAs. And what I want to propose is completely change the hierarchy of the process. And I would like to put some group of people and talk about it, and maybe create a new challenge, a new proposal to change the idea scale.
You mean idea scale as a tool, or
No,
the
no,
catalyst
not,
process?
No, as a process.
Okay.
Yeah. And it should be interesting to see, to completely juggle with the whole community. And I want to create this process of voting in layers, and to create it like people that are really invested into Cardano, into like with their ADA in the pools, to have a decision on choosing what challenges and what proposals should go to the voters to vote on. And this is like 3 or 4 layers of decision making, of choosing. And through that process, actually, you're gonna create the teams that put the proposal at the end together. But I don't want to take your time anymore. I'm gonna go now. And if you can catch me up, anyone from you that are interested in these kind of discussions, we can meet next Swamp session. And you can chat me up in Discord.
Thanks for hanging out with us and being part of us. It's not us and you. It's we.
Sure, sure, man, sure. But I got a bad finger today because of that. Somebody said, somebody said that's not here. Why are you talking we when you are you? And the other one,
Oh,
it's
That's
totally,
crap.
he said totally the other way around.
it depends. It's a matter of context. But
Sure,
here,
sure. And I
you
accepted
were
that.
we.
Yes, yes. So I try to talk in the first person, but sometimes it's better in third person, I think. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I will
Okay, guys.
also
thanks.
address the idea what Aldion had and sprinkle it with some ideas I have as a system thinking. And I have a game where literally I had a MMORPG game where people wanted bots to farm gold and stuff. So I gave them the tool to do that. Check, okay, press this button and every time you step on a gold, it just picks it up. You don't have to drag it or anything. And some like people who manually did it kind of got pissed off. Why it's so easy now? And then I started like creating a list of features like you can enable it on and off, on and like, and so every person has like an idea of the game that they want to have. And I think it could be something similar used in idea scale. So one has an idea, hey, we should have a pitch deck. So as a voter, you just enable on and off. Do you want that the proposal has an offer like that pitch deck or not? Or go into the system where community advisors want the proposers to have some kind of check marks on and off. So everybody has their own filters. Everybody designs their own way what is an innovation fund and how should it work. So you are the admin who owns the process.
That's an engineering thinking, and I love it. It's creating a way for people to scale themselves to the right level, and for the crowd to scale to the target solution.
Yep. So look, taking back to the Dallas points where he said, you think for your opinion what is around your environment, and like you said, Brazilians and Africans and every person has their own of expertise or way of like knowing what they want to have. So the whole goal is to have the set of features which allow them to enable or disable the desired outcomes. It has the bad effect of that echo chamber, creating your own echo chamber and maybe filtering too much out what actually helps you. But that's, we are humans. We have to sometimes go through the process to learn that this process was not that good for me. It's a learning curve. Life is a learning curve.
Exactly. I'm also thinking like let's try this out like few funds and see how it goes, and then with the time maybe people gonna start talking about the betterment of the system, and it should be open to change. Yeah.
In the past, I have talked about the risk that I see of the very open, very detailed project planning in Catalyst being a source of business ideas for silent actors, very well funded, who just go and do what we as a community are slowly trying to get our way around to funding. And maybe it'll happen at some point, maybe not, but we're missing time to market because of that openness. And Tevo has said, well, screw it. And I just wanted to point out that there is a time to market issue. And if we are being inefficient time-wise, we are not going to produce a result for and with and of the community. What do you think of that?
It's a good point, and I hadn't thought of it. And it lends itself again to, as a community, kind of deciding on what is important.
And deciding fast.
Deciding
Not
fast,
slow.
but notice that the word fast is a qualifier.
Or promptly.
Well, and promptly, whatever. I mean, I'm not trying to criticize the language or even the idea. I'm trying to allude to the alternative KPIs, right? So there are some organizations out there that feel metrics of well-being and stuff are the ones that are supreme, versus the people I work for who want me just to make sure I'm there on Monday morning bright and early or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have your traditional sort of metrics and measurements of performance, and then you have other institutions or something like that who, they have something called, I think it's called B corporations, or something to that effect, or green corporations. There's some places out there that they're very prioritized and built around, green initiatives. Other people, I'm from Alberta. People around here don't care about that as much as committing to, yeah, Jonathan understands what I'm talking about. But and other people do get that. And so again, I'm in agreement with you in terms of like, well, we're missing time to market. I think you're right. There's an unfortunate sort of tendency with Catalyst, how everything takes so much time for approval and this sort of thing, and yet speeding it up feels like it would be, I don't know how you'd speed it up, but
well, they have done a lot of work, and I do think we're going to see. I think that this halt at Fund 4 was anomalous.
Yeah,
that we'll see Fund 5 probably happens a whole lot more quickly, and yet still,
and 6 probably.
It feels like it's too chunky, and that I'm just drawing attention to the idea of fluid project advancements, where if the project is ready, let's go do it and not sit around waiting for the phase to close.
Yeah, but I think the current issue perhaps with these funds are that they're too ambitious to execute. So they want that safety net behind them, that whatever time they are going to allocate on this, they can, so they don't run into, like Dallas said, issues that electricity will stop. And or like
I think idea Catalyst, when it started, I mean, that's the question I would like to ask Dor, actually, if he would answer that, but I don't think he would answer it, because the question what I would ask is, did they, like him and IOG, did they decided like diligently or decided consciously to create chaos, and out of this chaos to start doing unraveling and unvamping and creating something stable? Because they rushed so fast this first 3 funds. There was like no structure, and it was total chaos. And we are now talking about these things and finding the wrong problems that we have.
That's what freedom feels like.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
And it's
the anxiety.
So I don't feel
all,
if we
nice and complacent.
Huh?
If we were all nice and comfortable and stuff like that, then we probably wouldn't be in a path of growth.
Exactly. It's like a growth, birth pains, growth pains.
Something is better than nothing, and like sitting around and designing a perfect thing delivers nothing.
Well, at the same time, there has been a lot of designing process behind what we are participating on, right? So at the same time, Cardano is criticized because of the time that it took to design, and there is rush from the market, and not only from the market, but from the community, the society, to get things to reality built as soon as possible. So the two things are happening at the same time. Sorry, Steve.
Yeah, it's okay. I think it's lots of parallel threads, right? There's lots of things going on. Yeah, I think there was some intention to layering funding rounds on top of one another, right? Because what do you want to see? You want to, you want to find out something about a group of people, you put them under pressure. You see who can maintain the thought threads, the ability to focus and see the larger picture. Because what do you need from a community? You need to know who the leaders are going to be. You need to know who's going to be able to put together a concept really in so many areas, right? Like all these different categories, right? These are all parallel threads. They all need to be worked on at the same time. And they all need to be built out in a decentralized way, which nobody's ever done before. Oh, and by the way, actually the amount of money is not going to be that much, right? So you're going to be in competition with somebody else who you respect and you admire, and they also have a valid idea, but you both win, but only one of you is going to get the money because of the way the funding part of it is structured. So like now that we see some of the problems, some of the real pain points, and then they stop it, ostensibly for this technical problem of getting 500 ADA voters to be able to vote. And from what I understand from Aldrich, that's a real problem. But now we can do one fund at a time and we can focus on it. And it's actually a little bit more like real money to change the world, the funding amounts. And so I think it's all of these things at the same time. And the point of the process is the process itself, and it lies on us, in our own interests as members of this community who have this treasury to deal with, to accept the pain of it and work through the problems and come up with our own solutions, and I think that's the beautiful thing about the Swarm. That's the beautiful thing about Telegram and the Discord servers, is that we're figuring this stuff out. And I'm very optimistic and hopeful about it, but I didn't expect a lot out of it. From the first time I saw a schedule of the funding rounds for this year and the amounts of money, it was clear to me it was an experiment, right? Because none of these projects that have been funded or that have not been funded are going to, change the world for 50 grand.
How much of the Catalyst Fund is being granted in Fund 4, in Fund 5? What percentage?
I think Fund 4 is 1 million, maybe 1.5 million, and Fund 5 is 2 million.
Out of 500 million?
Yeah, or no, way more than that. Yeah, we're somewhere between 600, 800 million dollars, I think, maybe a little more.
So we're fiddling around to try to spend 1% is what I'm
But this is my point, Randall, right? It's on purpose, right? Like make it good at a $2 million thing so that when we actually have a funding round that's like 10, 15, 20 million dollars, we actually know how it should go.
If you're gonna keep this track, then these experiments last for 50 funds. So see you in 2 years, then we are gonna do the real shit.
Right.
Yeah, I hope not that long.
Yeah, probably will figure it out faster. Like Randall says that we have time to market, then I think we're moving wicked fast. Like compared to how we work at my job, it's great, but few meetings per week and some documents getting done here. Entire crowd of stuff. I can't even keep up with all of that. I just have to make a decision.
Right.
They are doing good work, and I'm just gonna trust them and not gonna go into details because I literally have no time for that.
Yeah, no, I mean, like Africa is a great case in point. I think by the time the funding rounds get to be a larger amount, like the Starlink solution for internet access for Africans will be available. And, and then fuck small funding rounds. There's a lot of money to spend on really good technology to really help these people out in a decentralized way. And that's why I'm here, and I mean that also not just for Africa, but, I think we have the same dynamics in South America and Latin America. We have the same dynamics in a lot of these Southeastern Asian countries. Like we need to help the world at large have access to the internet so that they can actually take part in the Cardano ecosystem. And, that's coming, that's why IOG made that deal with the World Mobile people. I think it was a very small step, but a very obvious step, but it's also limited by what they can do, piecemeal in a piecemeal fashion by putting up towers. I think that's why I love Starlink, just conceptually, it's like, it's cheap, it's mobile, you can lay it out fast, as fast as they can make the satellite dishes.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Steve. I think people shouldn't be so concerned with funding anyway. I mean, it shouldn't be like the primary goal to get funded, right? You need to just build a business or whatever you want to build on Cardano. You can do it the old-fashioned way too, and then if you get funding, or I think actually then it's going to be easier to get funded because you've shown commitment, you've got a team, you've delivered maybe something already, right?
Joey wants to jump
in. That's like when Steve said they're saving the big bucks, that would be the big bucks probably, right?
Yeah, I think what I came to realize only after submitting my proposal was that you need to be very careful about the amount that you ask for, since you're going to be sharing that that pool with all the other proposals that do get funded, and asking for too much for that proposal round could actually get you, people will decide not to vote for it simply for that reason, just because it's impractical. And I think that was unclear at first, but it makes sense though that you do want to have, you want to ask for the amount that you need right now, accomplish that small goal, and then present your next, your next stage of development to the next funding round. And then you can ask for more money depending on what it is. Whereas like I approached it with the very old school mentality of like, if you need 300,000, you ask for 5. And, I guess like that, that initially, I think a lot of people, that was like a lot of the feedback that I got from my proposal was that they were saying like, oh, you're asking for 300,000 right now. I was like, well, yeah, I mean, I need at least that much to really get started on this project, to really, have an MVP in the next, 8 months to a year. And that wasn't clear to me, but I think that it also, you do want to somehow, I guess, build the funding rounds in a way that, people can accomplish large enough tasks with their development that you're not, let's say, like looking at like a 2-year roadmap just to have something functional and something that, you can present to consumers.
And so what I take from that is an idea that maybe the size of the funding rounds should be scaled according to the number of reasonable ideas that people are saying, yes, let's be doing that. And then the flip side of that is, well, maybe just because they said we need $300,000 doesn't mean we should release $300,000 or ADA or whatever the number is, but that projects get a monthly or a quarterly release according to the milestones that they've achieved. And so the proposal can say, we need this much, and we're going to spend it in this way quarterly or this way monthly. And then the funds can be released according to that progress, and not have all this competition about scarcity that's completely false scarcity. But also not just release big, huge chunks of money to projects that haven't shown progress.
Yeah, I just want to ask about that real quick. You're saying that you would you would say each proposal would have to put forth sort of like a product timeline of like, okay, we need this much now, but this is how much we're asking for in total. And then getting funded for that is sort of dependent on the progress.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't always work. I mean, and I'll use WADA as an example, right? I mean, they're asking for $125,000, and it's to set up the infrastructure for 6 hubs. So they need all of it. You know?
Okay, then they need all of it. Great.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean. It just can't be hard and fast because it depends on what the proposal is about. If it's about paying developers, yeah, you can do that if you want. I don't think it's right myself. I don't. If you win $100,000 funding in May, right, and so that means X number of ADA, and then the quarter rolls around, and in August, the price of ADA has gone up 3 times, then you get a third less ADA, and that's, I think that's not using the fact that we've got a very liquid currency that we're using that's not allowing that dynamic to work for us.
Fair consideration, yeah. I mean, fundamentally the idea is for important projects that have the support of the community to get the funds that they need now and not more than they need to achieve milestones, to get the funds that they need to get to the next milestone once they've achieved a short-term milestone, and to have that be fluid and have it be effective. I mean, if it doesn't produce the outcome we're looking for, don't do it. But if we design it,
well,
outcomes,
Gimbal Labs,
let's go do shit.
Yeah, right. But I mean, Gimbal Labs is a great example of how that shit worked for them. I mean, when they got their funding for Fund 2, man, it was cheap. They got a lot of ADA. And so that's let them go a lot longer without having to come to the community and say, hey, we're out of money already. Because they're not. They're not out of money. And it's because of that, that price move upward has made that funding for them be very, very valuable. And that could be true for all of us.
But there is a crucial point that it could be a vice versa in a different market situation. So it's
could be the other way around in the future, yes.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, but I mean, just thinking about what Cardano is planning, just what the roadmap is,
I
and what
agree.
all that, all we have is years of increased transactions, right? That's just, they are gonna, the transactions per second or per day are just gonna increase. The treasury is just gonna increase, even if the price drops.
But if you fuck this all up, then it's gonna go the wrong direction.
I don't think it's got, at the community level, we're not going to fuck it up. IOG could fuck it up maybe, or CF could put our collective foot in our mouth for us. But, like at the community level, we're not fucking that up. We're building it out and giving them a platform to actually, really expand.
I agree in the long term. Of course, there will be, or it's likely that the amount of transaction is increasing exponentially, but market situation could, well, in the short term, like a 3 months or down, kind of a crash could then affect a good proposal and a good initiative. But well, it's theoretically in both directions.
Yeah, I think we have come too deep into theories, so
Yeah.
perhaps we could come back to the process and maybe actually go to the least used section, which is we have veteran community advisor process, because we have gone a lot of general and proposer and that's pretty much the general view, but we don't have that process. And if we're going to have it, so let's perhaps try to add something we could use for Fund 6. What was the pain points right now, and what could we do in Fund 6 to make it easier? Right now,
This is what I've been curious about the whole, since I got into the room. I mean, you know, it was about improving Fund 6, but, you know, it was immediately a community assessor, a community advisor discussion. And so, but that's, and I'm also a little bit confused that we want to improve Fund 6 when, you know, it's kind of out of our hands, right? You know, because Fund 4 is about to be voted on, and that's where the Fund 6 community challenge proposal, you know, we can't put any proposal in for Fund 6 now, you know, in terms of like setting a challenge for the community. It's too late, you know, like, and it's too late for Fund 5 even, you know, in my view, we should be looking at whatever Fund 7, I guess. You know, what do we want to do
thinks
to
this is the last
restructure?
responsible moment for Fund 6.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see why. I mean, because I think, you know, it looks too late. I mean, what are they actually going to change the rules on everybody once Fund 4 is being voted on? I don't think that they can do that.
Why not? We right now able to bring up something what is easy to do and worth testing. I think it could be implemented quite fast. And veteran community advisor session itself, if we would able to add some kind of small feature to it, it's like months away from right now. So it's not too late. And some people come up with shit in one day and tomorrow it's ready.
So as a community advisor of Fund 5, I would really like Fund 6 to be different because I didn't enjoy it as much, right? So I want to try to change it just because I would like it to be better, because I would like to participate on it and do the same work that I did for Fund 5. So going back to that, I would like to say that I miss the conflict at some point in the conversation. So I didn't see the conflict, and I would like to tell you how I see the situation so that maybe you don't see the conflict with me. I think there are two very important stages of gatekeeping in this whole thing that we are working on. The first one is that at the end, some people get funded and some people don't get funded. That gatekeeping, we are hoping, is done by the whole community through voting. But in the end, there is a concrete decision. Some people get funded, some people do not get funded. Also at the beginning, there is very big gatekeeping. Some people have computers with internet, some people do not have computers with internet. So a lot of people are not participating yet, and some of us are privileged and we are in. So gatekeeping in itself is not the problem. What I heard that we discussed at the beginning and related with efficiency is that maybe there could be a space where all ideas could go. What I mean by that at this point is all of the proposals for Fund 6 should go to this space first. There, everyone can read them. Everyone who has a computer, internet, and it's part of the Cardano community. Anyone can read. There is no gatekeeping really there after the first door. So then everyone can look at these ideas, and everyone can do the role, what we do as community advisors, and say, I like this idea, I don't like it, vote for it, comment, give kudos, etc., etc. At some point, ideas that are good enough become proposals, and ideas that are definitely, for some reason that I am not the one who decides which one is, are not good enough. They just stay on the idea stage. And then proposals move on to the assessment process. They go through it, and then they get to be voted on. Now, when the community of Cardano is 1 billion people, nobody will be able to vote on 10,000 proposals. So I think the way to achieve efficiency there is that when a proposal is being built, the people who is making the proposal have to say, okay, this is going to affect this part of the community, this much nodes, this much population, this region of the world, whatever it is, they have to say it, right? And the people who are reading it, the community advisors, and then later the voters, they will have to say, I agree with that proposal, that is right or not. So when you have an idea of what the scale of a proposal is, maybe we can find a way for the system to decide who should vote on it. I mean, 1 billion people don't have to vote on every proposal. But if one proposal maybe has 1 million people evaluated and 800,000 of them vote in favor of it, maybe that proposal could move on. Now, getting things back to Fund 6, we will have probably 600 or 700 proposals at the end of Fund 6. So I don't know if later we are going to ask the voters to vote on 600 proposals. That doesn't make sense. I think so. As a voter, I wouldn't even attempt to look at 600 or 700 titles. So I think what we can implement something like that. Maybe not now, maybe later, but depending on the impact of the proposal, on the scope of the proposal, it should be decided how many evaluators are needed to assess it. And then of those evaluators, how many positive votes are needed to approve it and therefore fund it.
Maybe
and I don't know, I see the process, the whole process is fluid.
Maybe some statistical techniques involved?
I don't know if they are necessary, and I wouldn't know which ones. I think the people who are affected by a project should be able to vote on the project. That's the standard rule that I know that works.
I like that principle.
If you are affected by something, you are a constituency of that project, therefore you have the right to vote for it. And in this context, we have the right to assess and comment and so on, right? Because I think we want to move from an electoral democracy to a deliberative, substantial democracy.
While you were talking, like very clear vision, I like that. It also made me think about, like, yeah, I'm the guy who always adds complexity. I don't know, it's just in my blood. But like allowing to vote on people instead of proposals. So I like this guy. I like it makes sense. Whatever he does, maybe he has like 5 proposals, but I haven't read them all. But this one proposal, yeah, it seems like cool. But the way he goes into these kinds of projects and explains and understands them, I vote for him. And that is something we perhaps could do also in Idea Scale, that vote for a person. Like, do you trust him? Do you think he's good? Yes, no. And just abstain most of them, but everybody who you come contact with, you just give your opinion and your rating. And then we will have a second dimension how to assess the proposals.
Do you say that's a good thing? People trusting individuals is a benefit, or that it's a problem?
We won't know it until we put these
society,
two different together.
It worked for society, didn't it? But I mean, on the other hand, blockchain is doing the opposite, right? Having people collaborate or transact without trust. So,
but the people are the nodes, like what to say. Right now, if we are doing this proposal voting and staging, then the proposals are going to be the core of what is going to be reflected from the blockchain. But if we put people as a thing we want to assess and understand and see where it goes.
Yeah, I think really an important issue, and I don't know if I missed it or something, but I haven't seen a real roadmap for having identity on the blockchain on Cardano. Can anyone speak to that? Because I mean, that would be a total game changer for me.
Reputation is meaningful.
I have one question from the Twitter and community advisors. And what was your job? Was it only to assess the assessors who were notified that they are doing something bad or doing something tricky, or there was an option also to say, hey, this is a great assessment, like assessor, and there is doing good feedback? or she.
I can tell you, I can tell you when I saw the assessments for the water proposal, most of them were great. I mean, okay. I mean, I probably feel that way because it was not you know, it was not a divisive proposal per se, you know, but what was interesting was that there were about 3 assessments that, you know, what they wrote was kind of whatever they feel about Africa, you know, they just rambled, you know, and I'm assuming the VCAs kind of, you know, marginalized them and put them off to the side, even though there wasn't anything offensive about it, you know, because we did not object to any of those assessments. They didn't add any value to anybody. I'm not sure if that's consistent across the broad range of funding categories. I mean, maybe Manuel can address that because I didn't read other assessments. I only read the assessments on our proposal, even though I could have read the other assessments. It's not an easy process to review the assessments that you got. You know, it's kind of hard, difficult to look at, you know.
I missed one word in Steve's question, but also I am not a veteran community advisor.
Oh, okay. I
am
thought
just
you
a
were.
community advisor.
Okay, I thought you were better.
I just want to maybe respond with another comment related to that. There is another idea about a community advisors school, which is really cool, and they are working on it, and I have been involved with that one. But one thing that I have noticed, and this has to do with where I come from in terms of my life experience, is that I'm going to say it this way, and then I make it clearer. We all need to learn to participate in this process of proposing, discussing, assessing, and getting funded. And what I mean by that is that I feel that, so for example, what I have heard is some people, when they write their assessments, they are not really nice, they are offensive and not very substantive. And on the other hand, you have that, like what Steve just said, although I do not know his full experience, but in his case was kind of positive. But when you read the assessments, sometimes you have assessments that are good assessments, and sometimes you have personal opinions, which maybe you have nothing against them, but they are not assessments. So so we all have to learn to go through this process. I have an extensive experience in academia and government in sectors where your life depends on writing proposals, getting funded, and receiving reviews. And so you have to learn to get used to, quote unquote, that feeling of having been mistreated by an assessment, but you have to learn to embrace that and grow to it. And of course, you have to learn to do assessments, right? And I think we can understand that in our consideration of what needs to be improved for Fund 6, because this is the process that we are trying to develop and improve. And what I'm trying to say, or the point that I'm trying to bring up here, is that the process of proposing, assessing, and being evaluated and maybe rejected or accepted is not a process that every human is used to. And so if we want people to go through it in things like Fund 6 and so on, then we have to consider what it is that we need all of us to learn to participate in that process. Just along with how do we need to change that process so that it is more humane.
Also, who will assess the assessments and say, you thought you were providing an assessment, but what you provided is a personal opinion?
I think the community, the veterans do that.
Good, good.
And I am okay with that figure.
Yeah, and I may have dropped the ball, you know, as a proposer. because I had the opportunity to make a comment on the assessments, you know, and those people who wanted to ramble about Africa, I could have said, hey, you're just rambling about Africa. You're not really assessing the proposal, you know, and that would have been feedback from the proposer that I probably should have given. But that's where, you know, when I read all that shit, I was like, yeah, that's the veteran's job to tell this guy, hey, you just rambled, you didn't actually assess. But I think it's everybody's job to point those things out, you know.
At least it makes it easier for the VCAs to figure it out, these kind of comments, because there are, I don't know how many, and I think they have been just
yeah, they only get pointed at the ones that are complained about. Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm just now realizing that. I'm sorry. I'm going to apologize. So you tell everybody I'm sorry. I'm not going to say it.
It's not recorded here, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Oh my God.
So it's perfect.
Did we already touch on the idea of hidden assessments so that what we get in the end is a broad spectrum and not an echo chamber?
Expand on that a little bit, Randall.
Yeah, what is hidden assessment?
If the first person says yes, and the second person says yes, and the third person says yes, by principles of psychology, the fourth person is much less likely to say no. But on the other hand, if we hide assessments up to a point where we have some statistical significance, then we can avoid that problem of the echo chamber.
Yeah,
they have been hidden in Fund 5.
Yes.
So you don't see anything.
But that good point. A few months ago, actually, we discussed that same topic in a book club, where perhaps the comments should also be hidden for a few days, like because of that same reason, that people, first few comments you see are going to be, hey, this is a great idea, keep doing this, that, and give so much feedback. The fourth person already has a proposal and lot of positive text from comments, so he's less likely to be more negative.
The challenge with hiding the comments that are made on the proposal from the CAs is that they then can't do the assessment of were these comments dealt with appropriately.
Exactly.
So it's important that those comments, or at least the outcome from them, is revealed, exposed in some way.
Like I didn't mean it for forever. I meant it for the start. So it gets through like a threshold of few days, the first heated moment where people are like putting stuff down and without thinking what other people think, but what they think about it. And then suddenly all of these opinions are announced at once. Proposal will see it, they can already start addressing them. If they see multiple same issues pointed out on the same topic, then they're like, oh, okay, this has a higher priority. And because if like 10 people see it, but one already writes that, hey, this is it, then they might not notice it, how powerful, even though I think you can vote in comments, so you have that.
So what if I arrive, I don't see comments, I make my comment, and then I see what other people have commented. I see that my comment is a duplicate, and I say, I don't say delete my comment, I say my comment follows this other guy, and I'm a Me Too.
Yeah, or you say, what the hell, why didn't I see this? Has not only already been commented, but been responded to, maybe appropriately, maybe not appropriately, but it's been, it's been a consideration already.
I could also,
I would feel pretty bad if I went in and I want to make a comment and I gave great consideration to a proposal and I made a comment only to find out that it was part of a previous discussion and comment session already.
That reminds me of the knowledge-based technology that like Zendesk has. Like, hey, you're typing something that seems like it matches this other thing. Is that what you're talking about? Oh yeah, that thing. They're thinking the same as me. Cool.
Yeah.
I'll buy in with them. Stop
Right.
typing.
I mean, this may be a kind of, I think it's part of this, like in Fund 2 and Fund 3, I think that we in the community all generally felt like a proposer who went to the trouble to fill out and make a proposal, who did not engage in comments on any level, was less respectable as a proposal, right? But and I don't know if everybody still feels that way. I tend to feel that way, but I can also imagine, writing a proposal that I feel is perfectly fine and structured and competent, and then just putting it out there and not commenting and just waiting on the vote, to see if it sticks on the wall. Because I think that dynamic, like with comments, people who comment are wanting feedback from the proposer, and a lot of proposers do not. And I don't know if we're in that headspace about this, that everything's valid, and I think everything's valid until it's not. Like if you do write an actually really professional proposal, and you've laid out all of your metrics and you've laid out all of your goals, and it all seems plausible, you shouldn't have to say anything. Vote it or don't vote it. But if you write a shitty proposal and you don't respond to people's comments saying, hey, this is kind of a shitty proposal, then you get what you deserve in that sense. I'm sorry, this may just be inside my head. Am I muted? No.
No.
Is this thing on?
Don't worry. No,
Like, all I hear is crickets, man.
So
That means you've made people think.
from my experience making assessments, my feeling was that there is like a hierarchy. And so I think the proposal should be the most important piece of the whole process. And then there are bad proposals, right? So I'm doing an assessment and I'm trying to do it seriously, the way I think it should be done. And then comments are lighter. And I check on the comments to see if the people from the proposal had responded to them. But I accepted that in the comments, it's like social network comments, right? Facebook, right? So you have really weird, crazy, nonsense things. You have good questions, and you hope that the proponents respond to those. You have questions that are simply out of place, but maybe not badly intended. And then besides all of that, you have kind of the reactions. I remember that we have the kudos in idea scale, but you cannot give too much weight to kudos. So you cannot give that much weight to comments. It doesn't matter. You still do your assessment that has to be very serious. You have the proposal that has to be very serious. And so there is a hierarchy of these things. And I appreciated that the other assessments were hidden, because I think those have to be very serious. Maybe some of them might have been much stronger or much nicer than mine, but in those you want to have independence. Right? The comments, you have to know both sides, that they cannot be taken that seriously. If somebody wanted to engage seriously with a proposal, they can always do an assessment.
People are dropping like flies here.
Yeah.
This must have been a long time and I haven't noticed.
It's true.
Thanks,
guys.
One thing I also...
2 hours and a half since we started, kind of.
It's been since morning like that, for some.
I'm glad we solved all these problems.
Oh yeah, there is going the Victor who will facilitate it, I think, and probably me too. I'm gonna do some organizing here, affinity, and put my opinion, so you can let me know this is not important. Why did you put it more up? But organizing is good. That actually, like what Randall said before, it kind of helps with fast to market. So we take things what are easy to do first and which has high impact also. Let's just run with it, but also keep in mind what all the other options are. So
yeah, find a way to streamline all the things.
Like there is few things I was in the chat discussions were about deeds, which is or like trying to change the voting. What if we could like shout more in a down hall that process where, hey, start recording all the wallets you had, not the wallet addresses, for example, but the amount of wallets, and see what they voted, yes or no. But don't use it as a result. Like, let's stick to the voting once done by stake, which we don't like. But on the comparison, show what would the result be if one person has one wallet. And if you keep it that it has no benefit, just the statistics, then the people who would want to gain something from that, they have less incentive to just create thousands of wallets and vote with it. And it's just way complicated too. They have to be technical. So I think we're going to get good results to see how many people actually vote, because the stake doesn't say too much. Like, yeah, 50 million stakes, it could be one person, and it could be 10 people, it could be 50 million person, or not that much, because you get the point. So I don't know, or do you think this is not the problem at all, that we don't know what is the human amount of decision making we are doing in here?
I didn't really understand the problem you're facing. Was it that someone with a lot of ADA is trying to kind of undermine the system, or?
No, not this one. It's just the problem is that this is the only option we are doing. We are measuring the proposal success by the stake amount somebody gives to it, and every person has their own stake.
Okay.
But
okay.
But what if we count the wallets instead? Then we kind of get what each individual thinks. Like, it doesn't matter, is it rich or just barely made it to 500 ADA to vote.
You're saying we should see two scores.
Yeah.
The actual voting power and then the wallets, which way the wallets went.
Yep.
I like that a lot. I like that a lot. That would make it tricameral eventually, right? Because then eventually we'd have the stake pool operators and whatever they think about technical shit. And we would have a number for how the wallets voted, and then we'd have a number for how the actual voting power voted. And I like that. I like that a lot.
Can you repeat what the second part, how, like, what do you know about stake pools and how what measures you can take from there?
Well, eventually they're going to be their votes will be weighted when it comes to technical issues, right? Or, changes to the chain. And I assume that we'll get to vote on that also, but we won't have the same weight as a stake pool operator. And also then we have the option to change who we delegate to. If we've got a stake pool operator who turns out to have a perverted version of what he thinks the blockchain ought to be about, we can just take our stake from him, right? Because a lot of his voting power will come from how much delegation he has. Which this is the reason why the people who believe in only one person, one stake pool operator, this is why they believe that, because you get these guys that have 10 or 20 stake pools and they have, disproportionate influence on what happens on the chain.
Yep. So it actually gives us a third version how to look at results and see how the different stake pools, like what the median, because I think one stake pool can have people who vote on idea and who vote negatively on idea. So there has to be some calculations, but it still would be something. I don't know. We have to think about that one. But yeah, I don't know. Thanks for joining. I'm not sure, is there anything in the main room? But we did cover a lot of ground today in this voting process. Anyone wants to end with final notes?
No, it's fine. It was a good and long session. Yeah.
Yeah, the mirror board looks really good. I did notice though, it's interesting how you can see like the concentration of trouble. It's hard to tell if more people were focused on proposals as just a topic, or if that's where more of the pain points are. But yeah, you can see just on the board, it's pretty cool to see. Yeah, where everybody's sort of colliding on how to solve some of the problems here. So yeah, I'm gonna look over this stuff and take some notes of my own, and yeah, enjoy my Saturday as much as I can.
Yeah, what's left?
Yeah. Enjoyable.
I appreciate it.
The best Saturday. What is the best Saturday you have? In the beach? No, you go behind the computer, cramp yourself with a lot of high minds and just.
It's the third session today. Yeah.
That's nice. I mean, I really appreciate it. I'd kind of rather we had. I'm sure a lot of people would rather it was on other days, you know, because I would like to be able to take a couple of days break, but sometimes it's difficult, you know, when you get this involved in the community, because some people just can't do it until Saturday. But you know, like earlier in the thing, you know, like, you know, Felix made a reference to the Israelis, and they're like, yeah, they're shit out of luck, right? It's Saturday. Yeah. They don't do these things on Saturday.
There should be probably more sessions, not just once a week. But
having, you know, somebody.
Yeah,